The dude jumped straight from the balcony.
Wait, no!
What exactly happened? Earlier, a fire had broken out in the community, but the firefighters couldn't locate the cause. Then, a rescued boy looked extremely nervous. The paramedic noticed immediately and asked if he knew anything.
If you know how that fire got started and you're not telling us when that man dies, you go to jail.
The boy hesitated for a second, then revealed the truth. It turned out he was a struggling student, working with a bro to earn money through cryptocurrency. He had been stealing electricity in the community to power his friend's mining operation, but the required computing power overheated the CPU, causing it to burn out. The firefighters then found the man, who, seeing them approach, panicked and jumped without saying much, and the result. Just watching it hurts.
All right, this is gonna help with the swelling, all right?
Can you keep me covered,
Yep.
It looks like he'll be taking a trip to the hospital before heading to jail. The doctor was concerned about whether the man was okay, but the man was more worried about his pet shark.
Franklin! Oh no! Franklin!
Oh, it's okay. Franklin's okay.
At that moment, the fish suddenly fell, and the man's thigh started bleeding heavily. He lost so much blood that he passed out. The doctor quickly and skillfully blocked the wound on the man's leg. Thus, the female doctor was forced to accompany the man to the operating table.
Hannah's starting to cramp.
Another doctor told her to move her fingers around so they could find the nerves and stop the bleeding. After 666 minutes, the female doctor's hand was finally freed. Thankfully, the man didn't have HIV or anything. Otherwise, the female doctor would have been in big trouble.
The man was about to fall asleep. The car swerved and eventually crashed into a bridge pillar. The firefighters who were on the bridge to assist got caught in the crash. The road cracked open. Buck narrowly avoided a sliding fire truck and crashed heavily onto the car. When he regained consciousness, despite his injuries, his first priority was to check on the condition of his teammates.
118. Report in, I need a head count.
Most of the teammates had only minor injuries, except for Chim. His abdomen was pierced by the steel rods of a rescue bed. Chim asked the girl lying on the bed to move aside, then moved the bed and pulled the steel rod out. Blood immediately began pouring out. Meanwhile, Buck climbed onto the vehicle to lift the fire truck and prevent it from falling off. Then, he began rescuing the others one by one. Only Chim remained. At that moment,
Get back! Get back!
Chim was hanging in midair, but fortunately, he managed to grab the rope Buck had set up earlier, preventing him from falling. Seeing this, Buck immediately rushed over and rescued him. On the bed, Chim still joked.
I think we're gonna need a new gurney.
As everyone was laughing, they suddenly realized the captain was missing. The captain was pinned under a massive stone from the bridge, unable to move.
Cap Nash 118 over. This is Captain Nash 118.
The walkie-talkie was broken, and it was as if no help could be reached. What would you do in this situation? The clever captain quickly grabbed a nearby object and began striking the car body. The sound of the blows caught the attention of the survivors outside. A young man immediately called over the female police officer. When she saw him, she realized, "Isn't that my husband?" She immediately called for help. After 666 minutes, the stone blocking the captain was finally removed, and the captain was successfully rescued. In this incident, all members of 118 were safe, but the driver who had been fatigued while driving died on the spot. Never drive when you're fatigued. A horse suddenly crashed into a party. It went straight for the beer. Is beer really that tasty? When the firefighters arrived, the horse was already drunk, running wild around the yard. One firefighter grabbed a cloth to cover the horse's eyes, but he didn't expect this horse to be so clever. As soon as it felt threatened, it bolted, running straight onto the highway. The firefighters chased it in their truck and realized there was someone riding the horse. To rescue the person, one firefighter climbed onto the truck's roof and spun a lasso. Who can even tell if he's a cowboy or a firefighter now? Maybe he was a cowboy in a past life, because he roped that horse on the first try. The horse slowed down bit by bit, and the rider was taken away on a stretcher. But the EMT said the rider had already passed away. Watching its owner being taken away, the horse suddenly chased after, saying goodbye in its own way. Do you love your pet? Boy trapped in the car. His thigh was pierced by a steel pipe. To stop the boy from losing too much blood, the firefighters had to take both the boy and the seat to the hospital. Just now, there was a car accident on the road. A man was thrown out of the car. After putting out the fire on the car, the man was sent to the hospital, but the son sent to the hospital wasn't looking good. To prevent the wound from getting infected, the hospital had to cut pipe quickly, but the boy was too scared. So they had to cover his eyes with a cloth, then started cutting. As soon as they finished cutting, the boy's mom showed up. She said the person who caused the accident must have been her husband, because they were going through a divorce and fighting for custody. The firefighters immediately went to ask the father, but he explained that a deer had suddenly run out in front of the car. Tears started to flow as he spoke. His biggest fear was losing his son. How could he do something like this on purpose? To help prove the man's innocence, they went back to the accident scene. Sure enough, they found the deer's body. How could there be a father who doesn't love his own child?
The boy's fingers were blown off because of playing with fireworks.
I can't find my fingers.
While treating his wound, the firefighter used a thermal imaging device to search the lawn for the missing fingers. Meanwhile, his friends showed no concern for his injury and continued messing around with fireworks.
Hey! Watch it!
Just as the firefighter tried to stop them, seeing hurting someone, they ran off immediately. The firefighter, a bit exasperated, ended up with a scratch on his neck during the rescue. The paramedic carefully treated the wound. They exchanged a look, as if silently communicating. After searching for what seemed like ages, 666 minutes later, the firefighter finally found the boy's fingers, about 800 meters away.
I got him!
If reattached in time, the boy's right hand might still be saved.
The man just sneezed during a meeting. Then, the others quickly called for help. By the time the rescue team arrived, the man was lying on the ground, motionless, but he had only sneezed. How could this happen? It turned out the man had just had an appendectomy last week and wasn't fully recovered, but he rushed to the meeting to discuss a divorce with his wife. He wasn't sick, so why did he suddenly sneeze? At that moment, his wife explained, the man had a habit. Whenever he lied, he would sneeze. During the divorce talk, when asked if he had cheated, he said no. His wife was happy. This was the kind of karma cheating men should get. At that point, the man angrily shouted,
I never loved you anyway.
The wife was stunned. It turned out her husband had loved her, so she quickly told him, as long as he was willing to change, they could still get back together. The husband was moved, so he promised he would never cheat again. Then, do you think he deserves this?
Hi, Snail Movie here.